Ladies and gentlemen, meet Sav, a commentator who decided to make a video on Mushroom Girl. Given I'm commentating on it, you can assume I did not think it was very good. However, I'm not doing this alone. I decided to get the woman herself in to help me take this video down. Introduce yourself!
Hello, 'tis I. I'm MG, and there are way too many videos on me that fucking suck, and this is by far one of my least favorite to sit through. I think I lost half of my brain cells watching it.
Well, isn't that reassuring? Let's begin.
Boy, I sure do love pirating software.
Do you shave your pussy?
Guess who's back from their mental break after being severely mentally unstable and possibly being diagnosed with borderline personality disorder? Yeah, besides the fact that I am very mentally unstable. Hello, everybody. I am Sav, also known as fucking Lordsburg, also known as Raruka Fuji. I don't give a fuck anymore. What even is my name? But yeah, today we're going to be talking about the wench. The people who crucified them and basically said they need to be banished and burned in hell. It's Mushroom Girl. If you don't know who Mushroom Girl is a animator and commentator who got into some hot water recently due to previous and current controversy.
She's gotten into hot water because of previous and current controversies. So she's gotten into controversies because of controversies that are either ongoing or in the past. Also, it's good to know she's not getting into hot water because of future controversies.
And in my honest opinion, I used to actually watch their content before because I actually used to listen to their videos while I draw and stuff because that's what I do, obviously. But after hearing that they got into some pretty hot water, I kind of stepped back and stopped watching them at that point. And surprising enough, that's when before they were called out for saying how bi lesbians are valid. But I'll explain why I stopped supporting them and what controversy in a minute.
The title and thumbnail implies that you aren't gonna talk about drama. Then you state that you're gonna talk about drama. Makes sense.
Not only that, but most of what she talks about over the course of the video is drama. Again, despite saying in the title, this isn't about drama.
But yeah, all you need to know is that Mushroom Girl is an animator, artist, and commentator. And they got into some hot water, and that's basically all I had to explain. Now, before I get into the video, I also want to give a little bit of stuff before I basically talk into the topics, and some disclaimers and more. Number one, if I sound weird, or I tend to have a speech impediment, that's because I'm autistic. And yes, I am getting speech therapy for it, so I'm really trying. And I also have a card script while making this video, so that way I'm on topic with everything. Number two, disclaimer, do not go harass Mushroom Girl or anyone I mentioned in this video. Do not dox them either.
Quick question, Sav. Do you know what an apostrophe is? Furthermore, am I the only one that finds it weird how the first page of this disclaimer was almost entirely lowercase, only for the second page to be entirely in all caps?
Do not go out and witch hunt them in any sort of way. I do not condone that. And no, this video is not harassment. All I'm doing is just not only making jokes about the situation, but also educating the person I'm making a video about, which is AKA for commentary purposes.
Keep this "it's for commentary purposes" remark in mind for later.
Also, this should be a colon, not a semicolon. It looks like you're making a list of multiple things, not specifically pointing something out.
Hooray! And warning! This contains a lot of sensitive topics, such as zoophilia, racism, possibly mentions of grooming.
You began the video by saying you were going to script it, only to not know if you were going to mention grooming in it or not. I feel like I should be more surprised by this than I am.
And mentions of pro shipping. If I forgot any warnings, I'll continue editing this video and I'll edit more in the video as well. But besides the point, please keep in mind about all the things that I said. And without further ado, let's get started.
The liver says, stop staying up late. My eyes are dry and my mouth is bitter.
Now, since we got back into the basic introduction, let's move on to them bashing opinions and my honest thoughts about Mushroom Girl. Oh my god, I cannot even speak. Them bashing opinions is very common towards their videos because, as you can see in their profile, you can see they made hour-long videos just because someone disagreed over their opinion.
At the beginning of your video, you state that your video is only for commentary purposes, and spoiler alert, Sav says some pretty aggressive shit, yet you straight up get all upset over me making long videos bashing others' opinions, and this video gets more aggressive than most of my videos.
Also, literally none of the videos shown in either of those screenshots are over an hour. Fuck, all but one of the videos used in the first screenshot that I can make the timestamp out of are shorter than this video. For that matter, can we just talk about how strange this bashing other opinions point is? What are you expecting a commentator to do? Spend an entire video talking about how much they agree with the opinion of the person they're covering? As commentators, our entire medium is based around going through a video and criticizing it because commentaries are fundamentally caustic in nature. you aren't exactly making a video about all the things you agree with Mushroom Girl on, now are you? Lastly, I find it funny how you act like this is a simple dispute over opinions, when several of the videos in question have nothing to do with opinions. For example, one of the videos you show is Mushroom Girl's video on Kumo. However, that drama was more about Kumo's transphobia and the claims that he badly mismanaged the massive collaboration he made on Kamen Rider.
Whether it's against them, or if not, based on the situation itself. It's really common towards their YouTube channel. You can even see it in past and present. Even in the present, since apparently someone made an opinion against bi-lesbian people, and they got very mad to the point they made an hour-long video about it with no any evidence whatsoever based on their claim.
Hi, guy who had to watch the video way more times than one human being should hear. Crying Blossom was not merely disagreeing with Mushroom Girl. They were directly calling Mushroom Girl harmful to lesbians for defending bi-lesbians.
Yeah, it is pretty harmful.
And saying that she needed to be educated on the topic that she was talking about.
In fact, I want people to learn from this from an actual person who is a part of the group being talked about here. Now you're just spreading false information, but no, you don't know that because you don't know what you're talking about. But honestly, this video is so misinformed.
Ironically, without any basic elaboration or evidence, one of those things being the exact thing you got onto Mushroom Girl for, by the way. That's not even getting into the multiple times they called MG gross.
And it's grossly spreading misinformation. And it's gross how they misinform their audience by comparing people like me, a non-binary lesbian, to things such as bi-lesbians. That's really fucking gross and disrespectful in my opinion.
Or said she shouldn't even be part of the conversation being had.
Your own mouth, you're bisexual. So why are you discussing this and deciding what is and isn't harmful to us lesbians? It's not your place to decide if it is or isn't. Mushroom Girl is not a lesbian. They are a bi individual. And so they should not be talking about lesbian issues when they have no idea what we face and what we feel. It's not their place to decide and dictate what we should feel about that. It's not their place to try and compare different concepts that have zero weight to each other.
Although, we'll get more into that later.
Aksu actually deleted that video and apologized to me for being a dick, so whatever the fuck was in that video probably wasn't good.
Also, on the topic of the links in the description, why exactly are all three time-stamped?
Even when people like Go Cato tried to explain calmly that what they said is pretty kinda, I guess, ignorant in a way.
Ah yes, calmly saying Mushroom Girl was, quote, disgustingly cruel towards somebody and, quote, harming both bisexuals and lesbians. Look, you can tell somebody to go fuck themselves in as calm of a manner as you want, you're still telling somebody to go fuck themselves.
The issue I have with people calmly educating me like this is that they say I'm wrong without actually giving evidence or reasoning for why I'm wrong. They're literally just saying, your opinion is wrong because I said so.
Not only that, but there are certain statements that, especially over text, a medium infamous for being bad at conveying emotion, are going to fundamentally come off as hostile. This is why people tend to use slashes, emoticons, emojis, or bolding, italicizing, underlining, or capitalizing when they want to convey specific emotions that might not be easily demonstrated in the text itself. Without those qualifiers, certain things are going to come off as fundamentally hostile regardless of what the intention is. Even if I wasn't friends with Mushroom Girl, I would personally still be on her side here, because coming from somebody on the autism spectrum, it is occasionally really hard to read what emotions a person is conveying, or to put it another way, really easy to misread the emotions a person is conveying. If I were sent this same message, I would assume it's hostile or angry because my mind fundamentally associates certain aspects of the phraseology with anger and hostility. Actually, MG, can we call this person ableist?
Absolutely.
Also, while it's on screen, I should note that this post, which you show as a shining example of somebody telling Mushroom Girl she's wrong calmly, doesn't even argue that. Two of the points don't say MG is wrong, they say that other people say MG is wrong. Where I'm from, going some people say before stating your opinion doesn't make you a brave fighter for the rights of lesbians, it makes you a Fox News anchor.
They got very hostile over it instead of actually trying to listen to him over this situation / discourse. I'll explain more later, but that's a note, aka kind of a experience of what I'm trying to explain. But yeah, it seems like when people have their different opinions, they either get very hostile with them, or if not silencing them by either insulting them, or basically just disabling the comments or blocking them.
This is something you should keep in mind for later. They think that I'm shitty for insulting people in my videos. I think you know where I'm gonna be going with this. Hypocrisy!
Also, your call for civility might be a tad more valid if the only critic of MG you've shown so far didn't say that she was, again, just quoting the post here, disgustingly cruel and harming both bisexuals and lesbians. Far as I'm concerned, this video paints you and your fellow travelers as people who can dish it but can't take it.
You can even see it in their YouTube channel if you want evidence for that, because I am not gonna play almost an hour-long video to prove my point, and how even the screenshots explained itself. I'm 100% sure after this video, Mushroom Girl will basically make a video about me saying how I'm wrong, but honestly, I do not fucking care.
Anybody else want to take that to mean that she's saying she doesn't care what she's saying is wrong?
Also, why can you ignore when people tell you you're wrong, but you act like I'm scum of the earth when I do the same thing?
Probably because we're not calm enough. Because it worked so well when Spockter tried this same tone policing bullshit against Heaton.
Not only that, I won't be responding to that video because responses are fucking lame. And not only that, I'm so used to videos responding about me, and honestly, I couldn't give less of a shit about it. Moving on from that point, what's my thoughts about Mushroom Girl's content? When I first got interested in Mushroom Girl, I thought their content wasn't really that bad until I re-listened again, like this year, or this present time. And there's like flaws here and there. They kind of blabber too much about different topics.
Didn't you start off this video talking about how mentally ill you were? That doesn't seem too on topic now, does it?
Also, what kind of fucking music is this? It sounds like somebody just saying the sound of the letter A makes over and over again.
Or if not off topic. And they don't really use a script, and that's why it happens. And the saddest thing is that I do enjoy their content, but the thing is, not only they're so problematic, but also there's a lot of flaws here and there. When people try to critique them about it, they either insult them, or if not, they just basically make a video out.
Didn't you just fucking say this?
And again, you're literally being upset with a commentator for making commentary videos on people. Boo fucking who.
Honestly, given how insulting she is over the course of this video, I'm pretty sure this was supposed to be an entry for the 2022 National Tenderqueer Awards.
So this is my kind of a tiny message to Mushroom Girl. If you want your content to at least be stable or really good, at least make a script so that way you know what you're talking about.
You should always know what you're gonna be talking about in a video. Unless you're talking about pedophilia, of course.
Also, am I the only one that likes the implication that people without scripts don't know what they're talking about? A statement that can also mean is ignorant on the subject at hand but is speaking on it anyway? Given both myself and my co-op partner have massive doubts that she scripted her video, I think you can assume how we like to take this statement.
Not only that, make sure to recheck it a couple of times so that way it sounds right. Hell, most of the time I don't even have a script, and I'm in the process of doing scripts right now.
I'm writing 5 scripts at once! Nobody has done more scripting than I have!
But it actually helps me a lot. And also, I don't think it's right for you to insult the people who are criticizing you or your situation or criticizing your content. It just makes you look very immature.
The fact that they keep drilling it into the audience heads that I shouldn't be insulting people in my commentary videos just makes the fact that they go on later to be an absolute fucking hypocrite all the more agonizing.
Not only that, it doesn't make you seem like the better person here, to be honest. It makes you kind of look like a shithead.
Don't insult people in your video, you fucking piece of shit, bitch asshole slut.
I apologize for that, but it's true. Because you insulting people, even at Crying Blossom, that is not okay whatsoever. Even when they actually do give you patience and time to explain yourself, or at least try to improve, you push them away and insult them, which is very fucking, yeah. I need to stop blibbering and blabbering towards my message.
Hey, didn't you get on to MG for rambling? Why the fuck am I even bothering at this point?
So let's move on to the worst, and that is before they got into hot water.
I was definitely in hot water back when I was being accused of literal racism, so I don't know what you're talking about, but okay, I guess.
Now this is the part where I actually stopped supporting Mushroom Girl, and that is the unnecessary racism.
As opposed to necessary racism?
Or basically just talking over towards people of color.
What do you mean by talking over? Everything you've shown so far has been through text. You can't shout down the other person through the written word. That's just not how anything works.
Which is mainly black. Even though I am not black, I cannot go into full detail nor give my opinions about the discourse that is going on.
I am not black, so I can't have a full opinion on racial issues. I will now proceed to have an entire section in my YouTube video accusing another white person of being racist.
Also, good to know that the person we're covering is not against racism. What? She said she lacks any opinion on race issues. Racism being bad is a race issue. Although I do find your use of the term full opinion to be odd, to say the least. Like, would it be okay for a white person to have a partial opinion on race issues?
However, I do like to educate this unseasoned cracker son of a bitch.
Hypocrisy at its finest. Holy shit. Okay, maybe I jumped the gun a bit on that point, but oh my god. And this isn't the only time she insults me either. Far from it.
Also, why an unseasoned cracker?
About how whitewashing is very wrong and how what they said is very nasty. No, Mushroom Girl, whitewashing isn't better than black edits.
This is a blatant lie. I've never in my life stated that blackwashing is worse than whitewashing. In fact, I've made it extremely clear that I believe the opposite.
Coming from somebody who has both seen those videos and has the ability to comprehend the words people are speaking, MG's issue with blackwashing was primarily that she felt doing so was pointless, assuming the goal was to get greater black representation in media. To give one example, having a black person play Nick Fury in the Marvel Cinematic Universe doesn't suddenly make him a black character in all of the comics he has been in, dating back to his first appearance in 1963. This is compared with whitewashing, which is actively racist and doesn't get such benefit of the doubt of being well-intentioned.
They're very fucking horrible. What whitewashing is that it erases people of color representation.
Technically, in the same way that blackwashing doesn't add representation, whitewashing doesn't really take it away. The actual reason why whitewashing is racist is because it's an inherently racist thing to do. Taking the skin of a black fictional character and making them white because you think it's better is racist for pretty obvious reasons. Correct conclusion, shitty reasoning.
By erasing one of the people of color features and replacing them with white characters.
Here Sav states that whitewashing is, quote, erasing one of the POC features and replacing them with white features. This will be important later. And yes, I slightly paraphrased because, oh my god, this person is so bad at wording their points.
There's a lot of articles explaining why it's very harmful.
Really? Where are they? Are you going to show us? Of course not.
But of course you don't want to acknowledge that, and just basically say how you're right, everyone's wrong, and that we can go fuck ourselves.
Oh yeah, they were in an entirely different context, but the point still stands.
Great job, Mushroom Girl, for basically defending racism. And the difference between whitewashing and black edits, or actually people of color edits, put a lot of representation in media that we forgot about.
No, they don't. Like I said, blackwashing and whitewashing doesn't actually affect the canon of the media unless the creators of the media are the ones doing it, which is a completely different discussion.
Also, what do you mean by people of color edits? Would it be okay for an Asian person who's a huge fan of the Cleveland show to draw the black family Asian? How about a Native American who's a huge fan of Fresh Off the Boat drawing art of the Asian main character's Native American? For that matter, what if, say, a black person with light skin draws a black character who was originally much darker skin with their lighter skin tone? Remember, not all black people are the same shade of black. Just ask the Huxtable family.
It's nice to meet you, Martin.
Thank you, Mrs. Huxtable. So, if you guys are a family, why are none of you the same shade of black?
Or if not, replacing the bad ones with the good ones. However, whitewashing is erasing representation. And of course you don't want to do your research and just assume stuff. And in fact, let me do it for you. I'm gonna search up a video of someone who is black explaining the whole idea of black edits and why they put representation in the community. Let me just do some research for you since you don't want to do.
How lazy to just get a section of someone else's video and have them explain your point for you. And it's not like you have an issue with being a hypocrite when it comes to white people speaking about black issues, so why the fuck did you feel the need to put this clip in explaining your point for you? Not to mention half of this is just preaching to the choir because I think whitewashing is bad and more harmful than blackwashing.
I just want to be clear, I don't have an issue with you using a clip of somebody else if you feel said clip explains your point better than you could, albeit I'd prefer if you actually knew the source of the video in question. However, the fact that you put emphasis on this person being black makes this scream, I can't be racist, I have a black friend, but progressive. I should also note this clip gets something very obvious wrong. In it, Joe claims that whitewashing is in response to blackwashing, which is just laughable. Whitewashing as we think of it can be found in thousands of old movies. In fact, when Mystery Science Theater 3000 covered the castle of Fu Manchu, They called out the film's whitewashing in one of their host segments.
Oh, are we on? The Miss Saigon Syndrome, an editorial by Crow T. Robot. Dear Miss, Sir, or Madam, I can no longer sit idly by on my little robot haunches and watch Caucasian actors being continually cast in non-Caucasian roles. Christopher Lee's portrayal of Fu Manchu is a crystalline example of the phenomena I have titled Bad Actors, Bad Decisions. Sorry. This insidious tradition of casting has formed a psychological backdrop in which we play out the insignificant comings and goings of our daily lives. Let me, Crow T. Robot, pull back the curtain to reveal the lie on which your life is based. Signpost number 1 on your road to discovery. George Pal's enchanting the 7 faces of Dr. Lau. Would it shock you to know that all 7 faces were played by the white musical theater actor Tony Randall? Wake up, people. That's 7 examples right there. Now you're saying to yourself, please, Mr. Robot, carrier of the gleaming sword of truth, don't spoil the shining obelisk of Sunday afternoon enjoyment. Charlie Chan. Sorry, it's my job. Charlie Chan is a Swede named Warner Olin. Crow, stop now. You're woozy. No, the truth is a runaway train. Who's that playing an Asian in the tea house of the August moon? It's your precious method actor, Marlon Brando. Here's a bonus. The Indian chief on Uptrip was a great D actor, Frank Dakota. Dare I go on? What's the point?
Girl, buddy, control yourself. You're getting off track. The kids out there love your acerbic editorials and stick it to the man. You can't let them down.
But it hurts too much.
Back up, Crow. Get out there and do it for the kids. Come on. One kid wants.
Okay. Anyway, where was I? So in conclusion, Cameron McIntosh, bite me. Oh, wait. There are so many examples I should give. What about Joey Bishop in Sergeants 3? Hey, wait a minute. I like Joey Bishop in that movie. He's in a category by himself. He's always good, no matter what role he plays. Regis Philbin had no right to walk off his show the way he did. How could he do that? Why?
No. Joel, help us.
The point is, white people playing minorities has a much longer history than minorities playing white people.
And even in the case of more modern online cases of whitewashing, aka white edits of POC fictional characters, that's very obviously not the case. Blackwashing would definitely not be as popular and as big of a thing if whitewashing didn't exist. Blackwashing has mostly been, from my understanding, a retaliation to whitewashing, and a childish one at that. We're skipping this video, by the way. We're gonna go on to, the stuff that the person we're actually covering has to say.
See, Mushroom Girl, is it that hard to do research in your fucking spare time in order to make the video so that way it's high quality?
Says the one who did no research on the person you are covering's actual opinion on the subject you are talking about.
And good. Oh wait, you don't want to do research, it's because you don't want to hear people out, and you don't accept criticism, not to mention you don't need to hear to people's voices because they're always right.
Don't do it for the purpose of getting black representation.
I like how you can tell from the music that she's playing a response to Mushroom Girl's video and not Mushroom Girl's video itself.
And the video in question isn't a deleted video or anything, it's a video you can easily find on my YouTube channel. Pro tip, actually look into the videos you're referring to when making a point. I hate to break it to you guys, but changing a character's skin to be brown, oh my god, that's so progressive. No, it's literally not in any way helping representation.
Mushroom Girl, go fuck yourself, seriously.
Remember, kids, insulting people in your videos makes you look like a shithead.
Also, if I seem aggressive in this segment, I apologize for it.
Apology not accepted. Actually practice what you preach, for the love of God.
It's just that this topic severely pissed me off, and that's what pushed me over the edge to stop supporting Mushroom Girl.
And Mushroom Girl, you and me are both crackers. We can't say that which is right and which is wrong based on this fucking discourse, honey.
Says the person who is constantly trying to call Mushroom Girl wrong throughout this segment. Like, that's explicitly why this segment even fucking exists.
Seriously, I'm around your fucking age, and at least I know what I should do or should I not do, and at least I do the bare fucking minimum.
Oh yeah, let's not forget to mention that you basically whitewashed some canonically dark-skinned character.
I have a few things to say on this. 1. They're quite literally cookies. They're cookies. These aren't even actual black people. 2. The skin is lighter because I put a filter over it. I put a filter over the entire drawing. That's not whitewashing. If every color in the drawing is lightened, How can it be whitewashing? That's the equivalent of somebody putting a filter over a photo of their favorite black actor. Is that racist? Fuck no. You're an artist. Learn how art works. 3. Even if you want to claim it's whitewashing, you literally can't, because you gave a definition of whitewashing in this video that disproves that this is whitewashing. Especially because if the character I drew wasn't intended to be a person of color, why would they have lighter palms in said drawing? Seriously, this makes no sense by even the definition you gave earlier in this video.
So that was a lot to get out of my chest. Let's move on to the next segment, which gets very worse.
Like this tweet if you regularly get very worse.
Here's another straight up lie. I said that a certain joke where I referred to blackwashing as drawing a character in blackface wasn't racist. You're now about to watch a clip taken out of context where I explain that.
By the way, this blackface joke was not racist in the slightest. It was like edgy, but like it wasn't as bad as it sounds. When you hear blackface joke, you definitely think of something very, very offensive in your head, but it was not as offensive as you're thinking.
You gotta love how she doesn't actually say what the joke Mushroom Girl is talking about is.
Blackface is more than just a dark makeup used to it, and it's a costume. Its American origins can be traced in mysterious shows in the mid-to-late 19th century. White actors would routinely use black grease on their faces while depicting plantation slaves and free blacks on stage.
Blackface is bad? Who would have guessed? It's almost like my joke never actually implied that blackface was okay. It in fact implied quite the opposite.
To be clear, these weren't flattering representations at all, taking place against the backdrop of the society that stimulates, or whatever that definition is.
This person wants to talk about race issues, and yet they don't know what the word systematically means.
Actually, they don't want to talk about race issues. Except when they want to. Then they'll talk about race issues.
Also, this is somewhat wrong. The book Renegade's History of the United States talks about how many early blackface performers actually admired their highly idealized version of how black people lived while on plantations during slavery, and envied them as a result. I will now quote from this book. When he rubbed burnt cork onto his white face, Dan Emmett knew the secret of slavery. When he let his body move on stage the way he never would off stage, he knew what the abolitionists would not say. When he sang songs of easy work and lazy days, told jokes about sex in black dialect, and heard his audience roar in its approval, he knew what our history textbooks still keep secret. Emmett, one of the creators of the blackface minstrel show, knew that slaves enjoyed pleasures that were forbidden for white people. He knew that slaves were often the envy of America. Blackface minstrelsy is now often considered to be an anti-black parody, and some of it certainly was, but scholars have recently begun to see the songs of Dan Emmett and many other performers in the genre of expressions of desires for the freedoms they saw in the culture of the slaves. Just as the minstrel stage held out the possibility that whites could be black for a while, but nonetheless white, David Roediger, the leading historian of whiteness, has written, it offered the possibilities that, via blackface, pre-industrial joys could survive amidst industrial discipline. One of Emmett's first songs was D. Boatman's Dance, a tribute to the slaves and free blacks who worked on the steamboats of the Old South. Emmett admired what he saw as their embrace of pleasure, the freedom of their bodies, and their attitude that work was simply a means to fun. In fact, those who supported slavery commonly criticized the performances for being too nice towards black people. Blackface minstrelsy was widely popular, but not respectable. It was criticized on moral grounds not because it was seen as racist, but because it was seen as wild, erotic, and free. There was no greater evidence of the freedom experienced in blackface than the attacks on it by the keepers of American morality. Newspapers catering to the Gentile readership called minstrels, quote, demons of disorder, who, quote, made night hideous. In one of its many outraged reviews, the Spirit of the Times declared, but we scarcely believe a respectable audience would not patronize or encourage, I am not reading out those series of words. We hope that they would not. It is a duty society owes to itself to discontinue everything which tends to violate public taste. The New York Mirror called on audiences to give blackface performers, quote, all the success they deserve, which is a sound and glorious pelting from the stage. A group of moral reformers in New York City was so alarmed by the first performed impersonations of slaves that in 1832 it purchased the theater that staged them and converted it into an evangelical chapel. White America was at war with itself. Quote, the two most popular characters in the world at the present time, the Boston Post reported in 1838, are Victoria, the queen who symbolized bourgeoisie repression, and Jim Crow. The literary critic W.T. Lemon Jr., who has authored several path-breaking books on race in American culture, grants that depictions of blacks in minstrel songs were stereotypes, but reminds us that there is no such thing as an accurate or authentic portrayal of black culture either. More importantly, Lehman argues that slave culture represented pleasure and freedom to blackface performers and fans, and danger to good citizens. In early minstrel shows, whites, quote, were identifying with blacks as representations of all that the YMCA, which taught industrial discipline to urban youth, and evangelical organizers were working to suppress. The renegades who rubbed burnt cork onto their faces in the antebellum period, quote, unmistakingly expressed fondness for black wit and gestures. Obviously, that doesn't make them acceptable by today's standards, but the claim that they, quote, weren't flattering representations from the start is just a fucking lie. Blackface didn't become a tool of racial mockery until several decades later for a number of reasons, primarily because of what political scientists have dubbed the Tocqueville effect, named after Alexis de Tocqueville, the author of Democracy in America, who wrote, the hatred that men bear to privilege increases in proportion as privileges become fewer and less considerable, so that democratic passions would seem to burn most fiercely just when they have the least fuel. This has since been synthesized to all of politics to basically mean that the more rights a group gets, the more likely smaller aggressions are to be noticed. When your race of people can legally be bought and sold as property, you take whatever allyship you can get. The other factor was the thing that drew many people to be interested in the culture of slaves, their ability to live what were seen as laid-back lives that white people couldn't, was more or less gotten rid of. Going back to Russell, he notes, no people worked harder, scorned leisure more fervently, or expressed more pride in these traits than did the free Americans of the new republic. There is probably no people on earth with whom business constitutes pleasure, and industry amusement in an equal degree with the inhabitants of the United States of America, said the Vietnamese immigrant and author Francis Grudd, who, like many European visitors to the early 19th century United States, commented with pity on what was often called the American disease of work. Grun noted that, for Americans, work was the principal source of their happiness, and they were absolutely wretched without it. However, given black people were considered inferior to white people, it was also just assumed that they just couldn't understand the white people's love of hard work. In fact, many abolitionists believed that it was this ability of slaves to live what they saw as an easy life that was the fundamental issue with the institution. Again, to quote from Russell, when Dan Emmett moved to Cincinnati, he might have crossed paths with a young cemetery student and abolitionist named Theodore Dwight Weld. Like most abolitionists, Weld believed, contrary to what we now assume, that one of slavery's evils was its promotion of sloth. He argued that because slavery denied the incentive to work, it produced not only ignorance and stupidity, but also the petty thieves of the slaves, the necessity of constant watching, and, rather than willful exertion of free labor, reluctant service. Opponents of slavery disagreed over many issues, whether it should be abolished immediately or gradually, whether slavery was a moral or political problem, whether blacks were naturally inferior, but all agreed that the peculiar institution made people less industrious. The Republican Party members who drove the North to war believed that the laziness of slaves and masters threatened the hard-working culture of the free states. Free labor languishes and becomes degraded when put in competition with slave labor, said a leading member of the party in 1860. And idleness, poverty, and vice among large classes of non-slaveholders take the place of industry and thrift and virtue. party leaders produced realms of statistics to support their view that slave labor was less productive than free labor, and publicized observations on the work habits of the slaves made by northern visitors to the South. William Ellery Channing, an intellectual founder of abolitionism, made plain the ugly irony of his movement. The problem with slavery was that slaves were too free, that the slave should yield himself to intemperance, licentiousness, and in general to sensual existence we must also expect. Doomed to live for the physical indulgences of others, unused to any pleasures but those of the senses, stripped of self-respect, and having nothing to gain in life, how can he be expected to govern himself? What aid does the future give him in withstanding desire? That better condition for which other men postpone the craving of appetite never opens before him. The sense of character, the power of opinion, another restraint on the free, can do little or nothing to rescue so abject a class from excess and debasement. This meant that as the notion of constant hard work was removed from American culture, the need for this form of social commentary was removed from minstrel shows, leaving only the negative stereotypes of black people. Although, what do I expect for an article that lists Uncle Tom as a character that began at minstrel shows and not with Uncle Tom's Cabin, the book commonly credited for turning people against slavery and was famous for humanizing former slaves and black people more generally? This isn't even getting into the author of the book, Harriet Beecher Stowe, who was a firm abolitionist and a member of the Underground Railroad. Since the publication of Uncle Tom's Cabin, the term Uncle Tom has since primarily been used by black people in reference to other black people who suck up to the racist white people around them. For example, the show In Living Color had two characters called Tom and Tom, the brothers' brothers, two black brothers who commonly had the same opinions as racist white men.
I mean, we're all Republicans and you're probably Jesse supporters.
You bet your last graham cracker and Velveeta cheese.
That's right. I mean, Jesse Helms is a great man. Any Republican workers waiting cougar ads would know that.
Yes, the guy in the yellow vest is Jim Carrey. He got his start on In Living Color. Anyway, a running joke in the segments was that both of them were named Tom. Take a guess as to why.
Hey, Tom.
Yes, Tom?
Wait, how can we both be named Tom?
Easy. We're named after our uncle.
Fuck, this article sounds awful. Hey, MG, can you throw a link to it my way? I may need to cover this on my own.
Nope. Because guess who didn't link it in the description after explicitly telling the audience they should read it?
Oh my god, I cannot bear the fucking stupidity! So they made a video about the Foxy Boxy situation. If you don't know who Foxy Boxy is, they are an animation. They got into some hot water for alleged grooming, and it was a mess, and of course I don't really have a say in this because I am kind of neutral on the situation after looking back and forth in one of the videos.
You say you're neutral on the Foxy Boxy drama, yet in a bit you cut in after this entire section was already made, saying that you cut a large chunk out of your video because you accused Foxy of being a groomer when that isn't the case. How in the ever-loving fuck is that neutral?
Also, can we just talk about how little she has an opinion regarding the topics she's talking about? You don't have an opinion on the race stuff and the Foxy situation, yet you've decided to talk about both of them? Do you regularly talk about things you lack an opinion on in a very opinionated manner where you get onto somebody for having an opinion that disagrees with you? Honestly, the only way this video could be saved is if she ended it by declaring herself fair and balanced.
So I don't really know who to believe on, so I'm kind of neutral towards the situation. Because yeah, making a whole trend of a serious situation is kind of nasty, and them basically, you know, going charge at it because of them making false allegations and stuff. But Foxy Boxy grooming people and scamming people, it's
Okay, so while looking into more research about the situation, apparently the grooming situation was taken out of context from what research says. So I'm gonna be cutting out the part where I said that Foxy Boxy was a groomer.
You say this here, yet a majority of the points you actually leave in still are under the false assumption that Foxy is a groomer. Why didn't you just cut out the entire section and remake it?
So I was misinformed, and I am a complete dumbass. Also, ignore the fact that music is playing in the background. I'm continuously editing the video while looking through it. Also, even though I am cutting out the part where I said Foxy Boxy was a groomer, I will warn you that if I do cut it out, it's gonna be a little bit choppy, so I might add a little bit of randomness here and there while trying to transfer it to different topics. And also, however, I will be putting some segments in the video still, because one, I'm mainly gonna criticize Mushroom Girl's video, and two, there's a lot of good points that I made even though I was misinformed. So take it as that.
The points you think are good are still points about Foxy being a groomer, but apparently you don't think she's a groomer anymore. How does that work?
Anyways, moving on. Yeah, besides the point, apparently they made a full video about Foxy Boxy, and it's kind of horrible. Now let's get on to the first point. Yes, Bad Dragon does sell fantasies, dildos, or whatnot, but they also sell animal dildos, and it's kind of fucking nasty. And in my honest opinion, even if Foxy Boxy did order a custom fantasy dildo, they're still kind of supporting a zoophilic website which had animal fucking dildos.
So even if the claim being talked about isn't true, another unrelated claim is true. Didn't you think of that?
Someone supporting a zoophilic company is much different than somebody actually being a zoophile. That's not how that works. Those are two completely different claims.
Lastly, do you know what other website has animal dildos on it? Amazon. So does that mean that everybody who uses Amazon is a zoophile now? Of course not. That's fucking stupid.
And all the excuses in the comments section of that video is fucking nasty. No, Mushroom Girl, just because they buy it to make it feel nice, it doesn't automatically assume that they don't do it to other dogs.
You put screenshots of someone in my comment section saying something that I didn't say in my video. Then you start your point with, "No, Mushroom Girl," blatantly putting words in my mouth that I literally never said. Great.
Also, you are right that just because somebody does one thing, that doesn't mean they'll do another non-contradictory thing. That is a fair point. It also has literally no fucking relevance to the video, especially given you failed to provide any evidence that this person is a zoophile. Fuck this video.
And oh yeah, by the way, I would like to file a restraining order against you to stay away from my fucking dog.
Did you just accuse me of being a zoophile? Either that or you're really bad at wording your points.
Also, the whole excuse of the argument between food and genitalia it doesn't make any sense and it's just dumb. The difference is that food satisfies your hunger, while pleasure is just basically satisfying your fucking sexual needs in order to fucking finger you.
I've not laughed that hard in a long fucking time. Thanks, Sav. Something good finally came out of this video.
What the commenter was saying was that buying from companies doesn't mean you have the same ideals as the company. Just like chicken has nothing to do with being homophobic, fantasy toys have nothing to do with being zoophilic.
I am not funny. I'm sorry. Also, them talking about the grooming situation is kind of fucking nasty, because what they said apparently is if you send a blush emoji, you're technically consenting.
What I was actually saying was that there was obviously a miscommunication between the two, making Foxy think that there was consent when there may have not been. Foxy is not in the wrong for not understanding things that the alleged victim did not tell them.
Remember what I said about communication earlier? Well, just as certain things come off as naturally aggressive, other things come off as naturally flirty. Blush emojis are one of them, especially given that people naturally blush when they're embarrassed, and people can be embarrassed for a number of reasons, one of which being they're aroused in unconventional time. Humans are actually biologically wired to find blushing attractive, specifically because they can be a sign of the other person's arousal.
Yo, that sounds fucking dumb. Honestly, that's so fucking stupid.
I'm sorry, what do you think of that point again?
What is your process of fucking thinking like that?
That doesn't give the impression that they're enjoying the conversation. I don't know what does. Like, what? You need to be blunt, and if you're not blunt about it, nobody is going to see that you don't want to engage in the conversation.
Mushroom Girl, honey, do you not know how grooming works? Or do you not know how basic human interaction and consent works? Sometimes people can't really state that they're uncomfortable or whatnot. Sometimes they can't speak up.
Yeah, true, but that normally doesn't occur during a fucking Discord conversation. For that matter, let's not forget this argument is about Foxy. Unless you can provide evidence that Foxy created a situation where saying you're uncomfortable would be frowned upon, then you're basically blaming them for not being able to read minds.
And that's okay, because what if they're anxious about it?
Or if they basically stated that they're uncomfortable, they get fucking manipulated and gaslighted for it.
Then it becomes a very different claim, which you need a very different series of evidence to prove.
What if they have personal experiences that traumatize them to the point they can't speak up?
Then at worst, Foxy unknowingly took advantage of somebody. Either way, this isn't how grooming works. Grooming is about gradually pushing boundaries until somebody will do whatever it is you want. You can't push boundaries when boundaries were never established in the first place.
And the thing is, even if they consented, they're a minor.
So was Foxy. If minors can't be held accountable for not speaking up because of their age, then why can Foxy, a minor, be held accountable for shit that was literally never explained to them?
Minors cannot consent. This is a very hot take you guys cannot handle, but even if someone who is the victim of the situation did something horribly wrong, they're still the victim of grooming in this situation.
But when those bad things include allegedly lying about being a grooming victim in the past, maybe it's best to question their motives.
I do. Let's move on to this statement.
No, a 16-year-old and a 13-year-old is not pedophilic. I'm pretty sure for a 16-year-old to be considered a pedophile, they have to be attracted to somebody at least 5 years younger than them. An age gap does not equal pedophilia.
I mean, I can fact check you on this, so let me just do a quick Google research. Oh wait, you are wrong, because you can actually be diagnosed as a pedophile at the age of 6.
You mean like she fucking said?
The screenshot you put on the screen proves what I just fucking said. I stated that 16-year-olds can be considered pedophiles if the attraction is towards children 5 years or more younger than the 16-year-old, and you claimed my stance was wrong based on your misunderstanding of what I said, and then showed evidence that proved my actual claim right. This video sure is something.
So yeah, you are pretty much wrong. You didn't do any research whatsoever.
I don't know what's worse, not doing research at all, or doing research without actually reading the sources you put in your video.
Based on that topic. And also, let me give you a little lesson on this. A 16-year-old can drive legally.
What does driving have to do with sex, though?
They're also classified as the age of consent in some states of America. And some countries where they possibly live at can legally drink.
Actually, there are multiple places in the world where you can drink at any age. Like, for example, Algeria.
However, with 13-year-olds, they're classified as minors. They cannot drive, they cannot legally drink. And they're treated as children, while 16-year-olds are treated as almost adults.
So, not as adults, then.
And if you mean that they are basically considered adults, does that mean a 16-year-old can date, let's say, a 25-year-old? No, because 16-year-olds are children!
While with a 13-year-old, they're in middle school. With a 16-year-old, they're almost about to fucking graduate. I beg you for the love of God to do fucking research instead of assuming shit out of your own ass. My God!
Petition to Rational Wiki. Can we make this person the banner for the page of the Dunning-Kruger effect? I think that's how she needs to be remembered.
Yeah, that's my whole take on this. Do better, honestly, when it comes to those videos. Or in fact, don't talk about these situations if you're gonna fucking blame people and assume.
Says the one who accused Foxy of being a groomer at first, then ditched it last minute because you realized that you were wrong. Wait, didn't you record this section before your cut-in? So you straight up accused someone of being a groomer and then said this afterwards. Holy shit, this is hilarious.
But anyways, enough of that. Let's get on to the main drama of the situation.
You know, the drama you won't be talking about?
Yes, these are just mishaps. Very popular mishaps. Controversial mishaps. Yeah, not drama.
The main hot water. Also, on the topic of pedophilia, before I do move on to the next segment, let's talk about pro-shipping first. So apparently Mushroom Girl made a video about pro-shipping where he said, let's talk about pro-shipping finally. While I do agree with some of the points they made, which is like pro-shipping bad, and not only that, explaining the definitions of it, some of it I cannot agree, and not only that, they blatantly defended it.
By blatantly defending it, do you mean that I gave a nuanced and non-black and white opinion on the topic? Okay then, sure.
You say how pro-shipping isn't necessarily pedophilia.
Being a pro-shipper does not mean you're a pedophile, and if you don't know, you should know, but a lot of people do misunderstand the definition of a pedophile.
Now, Mushroom Girl, you may have misunderstood the definition of pro-shipping because pro-shipping is the literal definition of fantasizing or romanticizing pedophilia, abuse, and incest.
At the same time, none of that 2 out of 3 ain't bad bullshit here. Fuck you, Meatloaf. If your couple you're romanticizing is just pedophilic and incestuous but not abusive, you ain't allowed at my pro-ship barbecue.
Not only is romanticization not harmful on its own, but you can fantasize about something harmful for reasons unrelated to pedophilias or harmful fetishes. Like kids who get abused by adults may create stories promoting pedophilia. Is that good? No, but that doesn't mean they're a fucking pedophile. Also, by this logic, wouldn't an adult shipping 2 minors together also be pedophilic? People of all ages often ship minor characters because they think it's a cute relationship, not because they're getting off to it. And this also applies to many pro-shippers.
Well, I'm not sure about abuse because now it's called com-shipping if I'm correct, but it's still romanticizing very bad things.
So no, Mushroom Girl, pro-shipping is literally pedophilia, or romanticization of pedophilia.
Didn't you just say it was also romanticizing 2 other things?
So you're pretty much wrong there.
Another thing is that they say how pro-shipping isn't technically pedophilia, and how you can't call pro-shippers pedophiles because they literally romanticize pedophilia.
You can excuse calling adult pro-shippers pedophiles. Like, no, you can't. But, like, in this, like, magical, maybe, like, little world and so, and, like, very, like, super dedicated anti-shippers' heads, maybe.
I mean, technically, by the pro-shippers' logic, they're either romanticizing pedophilia, or just straight up are pedophiles.
Who gives a shit what their logic says? You just spent the rest of the segment calling them abusive, incestuous pedophiles.
Because they literally do romanticize very illegal things. I mean, unless if we're talking about minor pro-shippers, now I can understand.
Oh, so you conveniently cut out the section where I talked about minor pro-shippers so you could make the same point I did and act like that's not what I've been saying this entire time. Great.
This argument a little bit clearly because technically you can't be diagnosed as a pedophile until you're the age of 16, but they're still romanticizing pedophilia nonetheless.
Same thing with the whole foxy boxy zoophilia thing. Those are 2 different things. Thing A might be wrong, but unrelated thing B is right, so ha. When the fuck have I ever said that minor pro-shippers weren't bad? You're arguing a claim we both agree with, but with stupid fucking reasoning.
Just because they're a minor, or technically a child.
A minor or technically a child. So a minor or a minor.
Doesn't mean we can't hold them accountable. Also, it's kind of weird how you're basically kind of like disproving the point of what aunties are trying to explain how pro-shipping is awful, because what I'm pretty known of is that anti-pro-ships are technically basically people against these type of disgusting things.
I'm going against anti-shippers because many of them don't actually care about the people being harmed. They just think pro-ship icky and then proceed to harass 12-year-old possible grooming victims who draw pro-ship art.
Also, what are you implying here? Is it because these people are against disgusting ideas they're suddenly above criticism? Because that's the definition of John Wick morality, or the notion that you can do anything you want as long as you're fighting the bad guy. It's a stupid form of morality that is usually used by narcissists.
Obviously, people who don't send death threats, obviously, but besides.
And also, their third argument, they're saying how just because you're a pro-shipper doesn't mean every single pro-shipper is a pedophile, which is kind of fucking weird.
And if there is, then yeah, they're a pedophile, but not because they're a pro-shipper, because they're an asshole. Sure, maybe them being a pro-shipper could, you know, maybe their pro-shipping could be a sign of that, but it's not a sign that automatically means everyone who pro-ships is a pedophile, especially the fact that most people who pro-ship nowadays are young children.
Mushroom Girl, literally every single fucking pro-ship literally romanticizes pedophilia.
That doesn't change the fact that they're fucking kids? What? Many children are groomed into being pro-shippers, which you acknowledge in this video.
Why do you keep going back and forth with this?
Oh no, guys, the nuance is scaring her.
Not technically a pedophile, but they're kind of a pedophile. Make up your mind!
I said that some pro-shippers are pedophiles, which is true. Some pro-shippers are pedophiles in the same way that some gay people are pedophiles. There's gonna be pedophiles in almost every community. The only real difference in this comparison is that pro-shipping, especially paired with lolicon, can be a way for pedos to fulfill their desires. But seeing as most pro-shippers are literal children, that's usually not the case.
Also, don't try to brush the aside that there's literal adult pro-shippers. Yes, mainly minor pro-shippers are in that community, but that's because they're most likely either don't understand what the concept of it is, or if not, they're most likely groomed to.
First off, I'm pretty sure two things can't be most likely by definition. However, can we talk about how disturbed it is that you go from they don't understand to they were groomed? Like, is it really just impossible for people to look at facts and form a different opinion than you did? They either don't get the issue at hand, or they're literally victims of predatory actions, according to you.
Also, you've been implying in this entire video that most, if not all, pro shippers are pedophiles, but now you're stating that most pro shippers are children. Fun fact, that's not how that works at all.
And with adult pro shippers, they know what it is, and they don't mind that they're romanticizing very problematic themes.
Oh, so the adult ones can have a different opinion than you. With that said, I do find it funny that nobody who's an adult gets any benefit of the doubt, or their opinion cannot be formed as a result of ignorance or previous grooming, but from looking at information and just not giving a shit.
Children with grooming trauma grow up to be adults with grooming trauma, you moron.
And I don't like the fact how you're basically trying to sugarcoat this. It's kind of gross.
How am I sugarcoating it? By not hating every pro shipper that walks the earth? What?
I mean, there's a chance that you could possibly explain this a little bit better to avoid misunderstanding, but then again, I don't like the fact that you sugarcoat this and try to push everything off the side as if it was nothing. But yeah, I just need to talk about this a little bit more because people are bringing it up that Mushroom Girl is defending pro shipping, which I kind of decided to explain a little bit more about this topic. But besides the point, moving on to the next segment.
Oh my god, there's just something.
Of course, of fucking course, Ephraim is going to have fun with this one.
About these videos that they just really want to make me kill myself.
Ah, yes, the recent hot water they get into, and that is the bi-lesbian discourse.
So for context for the situation, apparently they made a video, which is now deleted, which they basically explain how bi-lesbians are valid, and their points are pretty fucking stupid.
Have you actually seen the original video? I think you implied in this video that you've seen the Crying Blossom response video, but have you actually seen the original? I mean, then again, there was so much of my video and the response Crying Blossom made that I'm sure you can just watch that, cut out any of Crying Blossom's useless excuses of arguments, and get a pretty good gist of my original points.
And when Crying Blossom and Goat Cato pointed out that, hey, what you said is pretty inappropriate and ignorant, they basically insulted them.
Oh no! Insults! It's the end of the world! Good thing Sav never insults me throughout this video.
Also, I love how they don't show anything Goat said at this part of the video.
Keep in mind, Crying Blossom is a non-binary lesbian who can't talk about this discourse itself, and when they did mention what they said was pretty fucking dumb, they basically invalidated them and said that they don't need their voice towards the situation.
A non-binary lesbian said it was true, which means it's true. I get all my base trans takes from Blair White.
I get all my race takes from the Brothers Brothers.
He was a troublemaker. This guy didn't like his seat on the bus. He didn't know he had it so good.
Joe Piscopo.
He walked all over Alabama for no reason at all. Got hit in his head all the time. He was relative to Don King.
Don King Sr.
Pass.
And basically insulted.
And obviously when the other lesbians got rightfully upset at Mushroom Girl for this, they deleted a video and say how they're chronically online and need to go outside.
Yeah, I still stand by that. Go outside and touch some grass.
Mushroom Girl, are you okay? Do you need a fucking anxiety pill or something?
You don't know what anxiety means.
So far, people who disagree with you have been ignorant, groomed, or mentally unwell in some way. I don't really know how to respond to that outside of what the fuck.
Of course, since I'm not a lesbian, I can't have, full-on discourse towards the situation.
Say it with me, kids. Then why the fuck are you talking about it?
However, I would like to educate Mushroom Girl about it. Lesbian is a definition usually refers to a woman who has a romantic and or sexual orientation towards women. Some non-binary people also identify with this term. Gay, used in some cultural settings to represent men who are attracted to men in a romantic, erotic, and or emotional sense.
Yeah, you totally didn't watch my original video.
The bisexual definition is of relating to or characterized by sexual or romantic attraction to individuals of one same sex and of opposite sex, also relating to the characteristics bisexual and romantic attraction to people of one's own gender identity and the other gender identity.
But all you need to know is that lesbians are only attracted to non-binary spectrums and women.
So here's a question that I like to ask people like you. At what point does an identity become too man? Can a woman who dates a demi-boy call herself a lesbian? What about somebody who is agender? What about somebody who is gender fluid? If you want to play the strict definition game, you have to be consistent with it and set hard lines. And every definition I've seen that tries to include non-binary people fails to do that.
While with bisexuals, however, they're attracted to women, men, and non-binary spectrums, but they have a preference. The fact you're twisting the definition is kind of fucking scummy, to be honest, and you shouldn't have a say towards this when it comes to this discourse.
The topic is about bi-lesbians. Why can only lesbians speak on this? I'm bisexual, so shouldn't I be allowed to speak on the issue of bi-lesbians? Or are you just blatantly biphobic?
Also, why doesn't Mushroom Girl have a place to speak in this conversation? It affects the entire LGBT community and, to be more specific, bisexuals. Meaning it's not as if she would be not affected in any way if the tides didn't go the way she thinks they should.
Also, the ironic thing is that I like how the fact that you said Crying Blossoms video isn't really good because they don't provide evidence, while if you, the only evidence you give out for your arguments is the definition of
Okay, so she gave evidence and Crying Blossom didn't.
A small piece of evidence is better than no evidence at all. Also, didn't you also just give a definition as your only evidence, or did the fact that you gave two definitions instead of one make it better somehow?
You can't be fucking talking considering the fact your videos are poorly made without a fucking script.
And that has literally nothing to do with what's being talked about.
Please shut the fuck up with the, oh my god, Crying Blossoms video is so bad because they don't provide proof why it's invalid. Go fuck yourself.
Very persuasive argument.
All you ever fucking do is sit on your ass and invalidate and mock lesbians and invading their safe space. Please shut the fuck up with your, oh my god, this video is so poor because they don't provide proof bullshit. Nobody wants to hear your take about the situation.
Really? Nobody wants to hear it. Hey, MG, how many views do those videos have?
Well, the original video had 11k views and 174 likes, and the Crying Blossom video had about the same.
Huh, sounds like quite a few people wanted to hear it. For that matter, if nobody wants to hear it, then why did you listen to it and write a fucking terrible response to her opinion? Nobody would have heard them and everybody would have moved on. Wouldn't they?
Because wonder why you're not fucking lesbian. So that means you could shut the fuck up and let them have their own discourse.
Which you are also taking part in despite by your own admission not being a lesbian, but we're all just supposed to ignore that. Like, are you trying to be an omnisexual pick-me for lesbians? Because that's really fucking sad.
Not you, only the lesbians. Hell, even I'm omnisexual and I know the bare fucking minimum of it.
And literally nothing more.
It's like, good God! And yeah, I'm pretty sure it seems like you don't understand why it's invalid, so I'll give you a reason why it's not valid. Lesbians only love women in non-binary spectrums.
You literally just fucking said this!
What kind of love? Like, any love? Do lesbians all have daddy issues? This is why specifying what kind of attraction is important, which is literally what the term bi-lesbian is meant to do.
I mean, too much love will kill you.
She say, do you love me? I tell her only partly. I only love my bed and my mom, I'm sorry.
Bisexuals love women and men. If you say that you can't be lesbian but love men, that is lesbian phobic. Because you're invalidating the lesbian.
You're invalidating the lesbians! I know I shouldn't keep laughing at Sav's delivery, but I honestly just can't fucking help it.
It's very easy to do basic fucking research why it's invalid.
Are you sure?
But yeah, I can't really go into full detail on, this whole discourse itself because, again, I am not lesbian, but all I would say is that Mushroom Girl, you're a fucking idiot.
Remember, kids, insults are for shitheads.
Anyways, on to the fucking conclusion. This video has gone for too long, but at least it's way fucking better than Mushroom Girl's because at least I put more information into this. Honest thoughts about the situation. It's a fucking shitstorm, and honestly, Mushroom Girl needs to take a break or something, or get off the internet, because what they did was very disgusting. They can't be continuing this behavior where they insult people and say how they're obviously in the right, which obviously they're in the wrong. And when people try to explain it towards Mushroom Girl, they either insult them or block them from their channel, which is honestly fucking scummy. And not to mention, they need to apologize to the people they talked over, not to mention that they need to apologize to the people they insulted. It's embarrassing how someone who's my age are acting like this, and it's pretty fucking sad. And I get it, they're a teenager, they all act like this, so what do you expect a teenager to act very mature? But then again, it's still very wrong, and they need to be held accountable for this.
I don't even have a joke or a comment at this point. This is just fucking sad.
But yeah, that's all I have to say towards this video. Thank you so much for watching. See ya, I guess. I hope you enjoyed the picture that I made.
Bye!
Well, that video was a mess. It was confusing, contradictory, and just blatantly hypocritical.
Honestly, my final thoughts should be just as long as every single thought Sav had while making this commentary. That's all of them. Good night and good luck.